What is happening, everybody, man? Thank you guys tuning into another episode of Expert Mentors Live. And I think third time this year, Eric, you might hold the record for the most times in 1 year, but welcome back, brother. I am really excited to dive into, and you know, I love certain guests coming back, but the speed in which the conversation that we're having today warrants you coming back more often, just as things are moving faster probably than anybody ever anticipated or expected things to move.
It is wild. I can't even begin to describe the pace. I've never worked in something where the pace is like this. And we're actually going to talk about the perils of that too. I think that's important to talk about. But yeah, the pace is crazy.
It is absolutely insane. I was obviously here in Pittsburgh talking obviously in the number one EXP team's office in PA. And I was talking with Matt this morning a little bit, and I'm like, it might have been the most challenging year, yet it was the fastest year that I can feel like I've experienced. And I'm sure years and things have been fast, but like this is like a whole new, it's like they got the turbo button smashed down as things are moving across. So I'm really excited to get into what we're going to dive into today and get into, you know, kind of the topic and the theme that we are going to kind of lead with. However, I want to kind of set the stage, and I know we talked about this last time you were on, but kitchen table, you zoom in June and you pose the question. And it's the one thing that I've known the number one consumer complaint for the last couple decades, maybe even longer, has always been lack of communication from the real estate professional majority, right? That would kind of lead. There's some other things, but you're like, brother, listen, you know, that's changed. And I'm like, okay, tell me more. And you're like, as of now, the number one complaint is that the consumer believes they know more than their real estate professional. And I'm like, okay, I can 100% buy that. I would say probably 95%, maybe even 97%, they do know more. And that's just because the one thing that, especially in this industry, was not the conversation until it has become the conversation. And it was like, oh, you're going to get lapped if you're not an AI agent. And you're like, well, the one thing that we need to be thinking about is the AI consumer and how they are getting smarter and smarter and utilizing the tools available to help them in their home buying and home selling journey. So I'm gonna let you kind of jump in from there. So when we talk about AI powered consumer, just as kind of where things are at, I think this is good to kind of understand the situation and the challenges that we're facing in the industry, outside of all of the noise of the lawsuits and this and whatever's going to happen. But at the end of the day, it's getting to, you know, our purpose in the process to help that consumer, you know, get things across the finish line.
Fundamentally, the reason why I just want to scream from the rooftops that this is happening is because the fundamentals have actually changed. So before, Zillow got upstream of all of us, right? They got upstream because the internet was a place of search. It was a place of listings, a place of rates, a place of addresses, a place of things that the consumer searched for. Mm-hmm. The internet has quickly switched to a place of conversations. And so the stream that Zillow got upstream of us on is no longer exists in that way. It's quickly transitioning from a place of search to a place of conversations. That is fundamentally the foundation at which everything else that we're going to talk about today is premised upon. Okay. So the AI layer has created this middleman between all of the websites, all of the internet, all of the information, and all of us. Differently than Zillow created a middleman between the consumer and us, and that was our listings. The middleman has changed. Does that ring true so far? Make sense?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
The thing for people to really understand is that when people interact with AI, 93% of the time, those interactions do not like progress into them clicking through to view a website. So most of the conversations that are, so if the conversations are, I'm sorry, if the if the transition is happening online to conversations and 93% of those conversations don't result in clicking through to a website, that has to fundamentally like scream red flags about what the consumer is doing, where they're going, and we have to go to where the puck is, skate to where the puck is going, John.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's kind of the, question that I'm always challenging, talking with Nick, talking, be it Phil, obviously you, Danielle, whoever, right? Like I'm like, where do we fit in the equation, right? In the future. And I don't know if you had a chance to, on Rogan, had CEO of NVIDIA, had Jensen on. I don't know if you had a chance to catch it, but
only the clips on on social. Yeah.
One of the things that really resonated with me, and I paused it and reflected on it. And Joe's pushing him on getting replaced. Obviously, he's great friends with Elon. What jobs are going to all be replaced? High income, fixed income, high income. Where Elon's, kind of his thought process around it. And he had an interesting take on it. He's like, "Listen, Joe, if your job is a task, you will be replaced."
Mm-hmm.
He said, "But if your job has purpose, then you won't be replaced." And, so it started to make me kind of think is like, okay, well, as a real estate professional, what is our purpose? Right? So where do we need to live? What is our value proposition? What do we do to fulfill that purpose? And so that was kind of, where, my mind has kind of settled in within the real estate profession is okay, what is the purpose? Where is the puck, like you said, going to where now we fill a void that the AI driven consumer doesn't feel enough to take the thing across the finish line themselves. So kind of, if you use that kind of context, what immediately comes to your mind? I mean, this is your world. So like, where do you see that, especially in the real estate industry, to where agents, as we're going into the new year, the new personal development, what skills am I going to improve? Like, where should their attention and energy be focused to really enhance their purpose?
I just wrote a manifesto about this. This is my first public works. It's called The Empty Room, and you can get it at ericpost.ai. And the reason why I wrote about the empty room is because of this exact scenario right here. So how everybody is using AI currently is essentially to scale the things that we're already doing. Like the question is, how do we do the things that we're already doing either faster or cheaper is what everybody's asking. That, John, is a zero-sum game, because you can only get to nearly instant. You can only get to nearly free. And so it's a zero-sum game. So then my question is, then what? So if those are table stakes that everybody needs to be fast and efficient, the question is, then what? So our whole industry, and this isn't siloed, like we're not special in this way. Every knowledge-based service industry, medical, legal, financial services, anything to do with like giving advice and like walking people through a scenario and any sort of sales, this is the same situation. And so quickly we have to understand our job is not the knowledge worker anymore. Our job is to be the wisdom worker. The knowledge worker back in the day was like, hey, John, let's say that you specialize, with veterans or FHA loans. Your job was so every consumer knew that you knew more than anybody else in your marketplace about FHA and VA loans. Okay, you were the knowledge worker. That is not the worker they need today. They need the wisdom worker. They don't need John to know everything about FHA and VA loans, because you can find out that instantly. Any detail you can find out instantly right on your phone. And really accurately with GPT 5.2 or Gemini 3 or Claude 4.5 Opus. Like, they're really freaking smart, right?
Yeah.
So if that's true, then now the consumer needs to go, oh, John really gets us. John really understands us. That's the feeling that you need to give the consumer today, not that John knows a lot. And that's another fundamental shift that we just have to kind of like, our place in the world is in this wisdom worker, personalization at scale mode, not a lot, not that you're always available. Those are things that are replaceable by AI. That's commodity thinking. That's low energy thinking, right? Because those are the table stakes. So when I said 3 years ago, when I started this, John, that like AI is not here to make your life easier, because everyone's like looking, oh, great, now I don't have to do this in my job. Great, now I don't have to write listing descriptions. Oh, great, now he can write my emails for me, right? It was like this relief of the drudgeries of things. Well, that's not what the consumer pays us for, right? And so like us just lowering the bar of what we have to do is the opposite direction. The bar is being raised by AI, and we just have to meet the consumer there. Right. So I love what Jensen said about that, because what I've also been saying is that everybody is at risk with the exception of the top 10% or the top 25%, right? The best of the best.
Right.
Right. If you're the best of the best in any job, you're going to be safe for your whole career. Below that, if you're giving good enough answers, so can GPT-5.
Yeah. That you're so spot on, right? And I feel like we were maybe a little ahead of our time with NAEA, and where we kind of drew the comparison between the expert advisor, that was kind of our stance, expert advisor, proven repeatable system backed by market research to sell your home for up to 18% more than traditional real estate agent. Would you like for me to show you how? And really becoming what that means to be in that top 20%, top 10, top 15%, because then everything else is just AFA, which is the average frustrated agent. So we kind of picked a fight with the average agent in the marketplace, and we're starting to really, AI is exposing it as that, what I mean? It's exposing the, it feels like it's exposing the 80%. As we continue to position to be able to get into that top 10, top 15, top 20, because that is operating with a purpose, right? Not just being an order taker, but you said something as the wisdom worker. What would you define as wisdom?
So wisdom, like I love to look for, thought leaders in all sorts of spaces. And one of the thought leaders I actually really enjoy listening to just in general is Rick Rubin. I like his thoughts on creativity. I like his thoughts on intuition. I like his thoughts of like plugging into things that are bigger than you don't quite understand. And therefore you get out of your own way and you just become you have a certain genius that he taps into, gets in his genius zone. He's the biggest producer of all time, but doesn't know how to, operate a soundboard. He doesn't sing, he doesn't play a musical instrument. Right. So to me, he's fascinating, but he's got a great view of AI because he really understands that AI does not have taste and AI does not have a point of view. Humans give it taste and a point of view. So, and unless you have a point of view or unless you have taste, then you're not going to be able to work with AI very well, because it's just going to give you the generic answers and it's just kind of this thing. But if you understand clearly that you are the tastemaker, you are the one with the point of view, then you can have a special collaboration with AI and get nuanced answers and do different things for your customers that nobody else can. And so that's what I mean by the knowledge worker. Like you start heading into this understanding of this personalized approach that, planting seeds of these personalization, sort of interactions with your customers is way better than how fast and how efficient can you be.
You're spot on. I mean, I obviously love getting books, and you did it right. You sent his book, and you had the little earmark in there, and and so I was like, okay, and going in there, and that chapter. And I've read it. I read it on stage in Cleveland with Rick, and not trusting the process, but having faith in the process. And I don't know if I told you the story. So in July, Leanne and I were in Key West, and we were there over the weekend. And she's like, "I want to get up and go to church on Sunday." I was like, "Okay." You usually don't think Key West and church if you've been to Key West. You usually don't put the two and two together.
Yeah, that's funny.
And so we brave our way, and it was different. I'll put it that. And we're in there, and I'm in for the message, right? She's in for the songs and the music and all. And so obviously a little bit of obviously what the message is, but I'm there for the message, right? I want to know. I'm big on the stories. I want to know the principle, and then how you can apply it to your life. I think that's why I like Extreme Ownership. Jocko's books. Goggins' books, that kind of follow that format. Let me tell you a story. Let me distill the principle, and then how you can apply it to your life. And the message that day was blind athletes, and gave the example of a blind downhill skier. And you don't go downhill skiing blind by yourself. You go with the guide. And it's kind of, the hero's journey, if you will, and you have the guide. But you listen to whatever the guide says. Like if the guide says turn, cut, you don't hesitate, you don't question it. And basically you have blind faith in the process. And so that the time that you gifted the book, reading that chapter, and I was like, there's meaning, there's a message here. And also goes back to, my favorite, Jalen Hurts at the Super Bowl, right? I don't understand, right? But I soon will. And so it's really like, to your point with it, right? Just kind of developing, having the wisdom, but just also stay the course, have faith in the process of whatever it is we're trying to accomplish, whatever path you're going down. So it was really powerful. So I don't know if I've ever personally got to tell you thank you for sending that, but it really meant a lot.
I love to hear that. I honestly think, I don't normally promote stuff that I do, but I honestly think you're going to like my manifesto, John. I think you should read it.
I will immediately.
The premise of the empty room, the reason I wanted to write that is because I was just thinking about how do I convey, this idea of the AI powered consumer, and yet industries are looking to create the most efficient, experience. And people do want an efficient experience. They want a consistent experience. They want a transparent experience, but they also want a memorable experience. Mm-hmm. And it's got to be the combination of all four things. And so the ones that get this right use the AI to create the memorable experience, not just the efficient and transparent experience, right? Because then the question really is, then what? Then what is like, what if everyone's fast and almost cheap? Then what? Everybody's a commodity. So you have to answer the then what? What is your unique wisdom value that you bring? So as an example, the knowledge worker, like if you're in a meeting and you're doing a buyer consultation client, right? And you're in a meeting and you're really like making sure they understand the process, okay? Well, now with AI today, like the wisdom worker, they would know that they've got their AI note taker there, or either in person or over Zoom, right? And so what they're doing is that they're now looking to see the moments where like she reaches over and like touches his shoulder, right? Or he like kind of crosses his arms and kind of like, changes his body position. You're able to be more present in that way to see like those moments that the AI cannot pick up in the transcription. And the AI won't be able to pick up if they're just searching Zillow with ChatGPT. That's the human soft skill that agents can really lean into. Is those moments that you recognize that the AI cannot do, because AI can process anything faster than you, can memorize every line of every contract faster than you, knows every statistic about every market better than you do. You can't compete on the machine with those things. So so the manifesto is just kind of about that, how to make that.
I can't wait to dive in. And one of the things you said right there is experience, and part of that wisdom. And I think part of purpose is being able to create that, design and craft that memorable experience as they're going through even the home buying and home selling process. I've sent you some stuff with Roland Fraser. He's more of an M&A guy, right? Acquisitions and kind of plays in kind of the ballpark, consulting for equity, M&A guy, kind of like what Cody Sanchez does, Main Street, acquiring Main Street businesses. But what Roland kind of rolled out earlier this year is the things with a lot of the consulting and what they're seeing is the consolidation of functions within the traditional org structure of companies as they continue to grow. Instead of having 6-7 seats at the table, it's really consolidated into like 4. He's like head of company, head of growth, right? That's balancing sales and marketing. Then you're bridging the gap with ops and finance, right? Because even think about even in real estate, right? So much of the stuff can be automated. There's so much that AI can do on the back end side of things with contracts and processing and a lot. But so you're able to bridge the gap with there. But the other piece, the new piece at the table that he's talking about, and it ties right into this, is head of experience. And like, I think about this, especially, I work with, individual agents to some of the top teams on the planet. And anywhere from, one with a couple support to, 150 agent kind of dynamic structure. So you have that experience with buyers and sellers, but you also have the experience with your agents on your team, right? So that is such a critical component. When he said that, I was like, gosh, dang, that makes so much sense. And we learned this early on back in the Lawton, Oklahoma days, Eric. Like we, just like everything that we did it out of, touching the hot stove too many times, right? Just out of pain and necessity. And this is when, things weren't selling. We had over 200 active listings in our inventory, personal on our team. We had 200. And we're like, oh my gosh, our listing coordinator is getting killed. Let's get 2 listing coordinators. And they were 2 different personalities. One loved people, one hated people. One was great with process. One was terrible with process. So we're like, why don't we just have one do all the processing and one love on the customers? And we created the customer experience manager that got rewarded for net promoter score, customer reviews, testimonials, right? Like there was an incentive package to focus on the experience. So when I saw that, I was like, oh my God, that makes so much sense. And I love that as part of the purpose is crafting and designing. We talk about magical moments, right? Magical moments don't just happen. They're designed, right? You design magical moments. So I think part of the purpose package within your business to where the puck's going is like, how can I design magical moments in a real estate transaction for our clients, right? Like that's not a commodity. That's where you can really differentiate and win.
It's so funny because we talk about this and it sounds obvious, right? It sounds obvious, but for some reason it's not, because that's not the way that people are generally operating their businesses. So where the puck is going, just let's back up with a little bit of statistics, John, just so we know, like, these aren't just opinions that we just have, right? We all know ChatGPT was really the fastest application to get to 100 million users, right? Like people say Instagram threads were, but that's only because they converted, Instagram to threads accounts. No, they didn't get 100 million people fast.
How many people signed up for threads and then is actually gone back to threads?
So you'll see stats with threads at the top. That's just because they converted,
I get tricked into going back to threads. I click on a post. I'm like, oh, that's take me to threads. I'm out of
like
here.
A ghost town. Yeah. I got it. Right. And that's the opposite of the trends aren't just like kind of steady that people are going to AI. Is like, last month alone, I think it was October stats now, but it was nearly 6.2 billion visitors, had to ChatGPT. They had 6.2 billion site visits, 6.2 billion, right? There's 900 active weekly users in ChatGPT now, just ChatGPT alone. Right. Like, so I'm talking about an exponential just boom in the transition from the internet of search to the internet of conversations. And what people understand that, like, now we have statistics that ChatGPT and Gemini, they release some statistics. So we know now that more than 70% of the messages used inside of ChatGPT is for personal reasons, like about buying a house and getting a loan and moving schools and where to go for a restaurant. Right. So those are the types of conversations. Nearly 30% they're looking for advice. Over 22% are looking for like sort of information, like how to like teach me things. And nearly 30% is in writing, like help me like communicate things. So they're not searching for houses. And so there's lots of people in this industry that are teaching AEO or GEO or how to be found by ChatGPT, but they're teaching agents thinking like the agent, not like the consumer. They're teaching the agents how to rank for like top 10 agents in, Cleveland, Ohio. That's not what the consumers are using ChatGPT for.
No way. No.
Does that make sense? They're upstream of those having conversations. So we want to talk about like optimizing for the right sorts of questions too online at some point.
Yeah, no, I you're so spot on. And, I know kind of in the SEO is dying and where, GEO, I want to get into that with you, but like, I'm guilty of it. Like I'm still the Google guy, right? I'm going to go to Google first. That's my default. It's been my, default behavior for however long Google's been around. And I get mad if Gemini doesn't give me a breakdown. Like I will refresh or I'll click the button. I'm like, what are you doing here? Give me a breakdown. Where are you at?
Tell me.
And like, you're so spot on, man. I don't click links anymore. Like I don't like, some things that I'll look at it and I'll be like, let me look a little bit more, right? Because I have a little bit more intuition and to that wisdom, if you will, to be like, but that's also part of my discernment, right? I just kind of my working genius. So I'm kind of wired to challenge and question everything. And so most of the time, Eric, like I'm good with what it gives me. Like even my discernment kicks in and I'm like, okay, that sounds pretty legit to me. So you're so spot on.
93% of them, like statistically, 93% of the time, that is the normal thing that happens. So you are not alone. Like that is the normal thing that's happening. And this is I hope people like hear this as not like, oh my God, I can learn something new. No, this means that now it's a more of a level playing field than ever. Like this is an exciting bit of information because now Zillow's trying to fight for the same footing here as you are. But the thing is, the conversations that are happening online are more nuanced than I'm just looking for a listing and then Zillow captures them and then they go through the process. They're having all these conversations before they get to Zillow as well. Zillow has the same problem now. This is an exciting thing that we have a level playing field, just to be clear, this way.
So maybe not knowing the exact answer, or maybe you have, the complete answer, but as far as moving in the right direction, how should we be thinking about this? Even Main Street America business, right? Like, I mean, no matter what, I still think this applies across any industry. How should we be thinking about, not optimizing for SEO, but how should we be creating content? How should our websites, how should our social, how should we be planning? So this is fantastic, right? As we're going into a new year, new initiatives, especially a new quarter. And it's even perfect timing because statistically, especially in real estate, this is the slow season, right? Q1 is statistically the slowest time of the year, which gives you a little more opportunity to fine tune things. Mm-hmm. What are some of the things that, no matter if we're mortgage, if we're title, if we're, doing contract work or home inspections or whatever, that getting a massive bite of this apple within the real estate space, how should we be thinking about content online moving into the new year?
The first weird, I'm just going to say it's weird because it feels weird for me to say it out loud. So the weird concept we have to get used to now is that we no longer just write our content for humans. It's a weird thing to think about. Oh, I actually have a strategy now of writing content and positioning my expertise and my wisdom and my brand for AIs. It's a weird thing to say out loud, but that is the first thing to really fully understand. AI uses the internet differently than your consumers did, right? Consumers search for keywords in Google. So you did keyword SEO ranking. And by the way, SEO is still a fundamental part of AEO and GEO. It's not dead. I don't like when people say like SEO is dead because it's still a fundamental component of it. It's like the foundation building blocks of it. But once you have that those are the basics, then you have to add on your strategies for AEO and GEO. And just to be clear, the difference between the two, because I also hear a lot of people using those interchangeably, like AEO and GEO is the same thing. It's not. You have answer engine optimization and you have generation engine optimization. So think about it like, one is like, do you want to be listed in the answer? Like, who's the top 10 agents for Wesleyan, Oregon? Then that's an answer engine optimization. You want to be in like given as the answer. The other generation strategy is part of the generation. So if you say like, let's say like a life event, like unfortunately, like somebody in your family member passed away, so you have to sell the house, right? So the life event is some sort of death in the family. And then the question now is like, oh, my uncle passed away. Is Oregon a community property state? Like that sort of like generation question. So now the AI has some information in its training data, but also searches the internet. And if you notice, it'll cite the sources, like where did it get, what online source did it use to give you the answer that it generated? So you can be part of the answer or you can be part of the source. That's the voice of authority. It's noted in the generations. Those are two different strategies. And people kind of don't understand the two different things, but they really are two different strategies, to be clear. Okay.
And I'm sure you can ask AI to help you develop the strategies to differentiate between all three, right?
Well, actually, it's funny. You can a little bit, but unless you're the expert in it, the AI is just going to give you the generic answer, almost like anything else. So, AI can only give you as good of an answer as good of your question. And unless you're the expert, you don't know how good your question can be. So you get stuck in these little loops, like there's these ceilings, right? Yeah. So I built a whole piece of software for it. In fact, your users are going to be able to use this. And because I wanted to monitor our own brand, and then I also wanted to understand what my competitors are being talked about online. And then also want to see like, over time, if the competitors are like releasing pieces of content or information in a specific topic, and now Perplexity is picking them up more, I want to see that. So I build a piece of software, man, I'm calling it Halo. And so it monitors a brand across all 5 large language models. That's Grok, Perplexity, Gemini, Claude, and ChatGPT. And it also works with you to help you realize what conversations do you want to be a part of. Which is the important part, meaning like you have these life events like I talked about, like what happens, death, divorce, debt, things that, need to upsell, downsell, these sorts of life events. Then you have the problems they have to work through to get to it. And then they have the search for the agent or the property. So there's 3 different things. So the system kind of walks through and like helps you decide what conversations you just want to be part of. And so this isn't actually different thinking. Like the reason why people want to do open houses before, John, is because that got you into conversations about real estate.
Yeah.
Right. You were in the flow of home buyers and sellers having conversations about real estate. That's why agents do open houses. This is the same sort of thinking. You just got to strategize. Okay, how do I be part of this conversation between my consumer and AIs? And then you run that game forward, right? So the software helps you run that game forward as content building software. So it identifies everything you need to do and helps you write the content specifically, both for humans and for AI, both.
Wow. So being able to tap into, the information that's sifting and sorting all the noise out there, but it's feeding you, kind of curating your own, feed based upon what's important to you and your goals and what you're trying to accomplish, then that allows you then to develop the content strategy from that point, right?
Exactly.
So kind of right things, right order, right?
Right thing, right order. And you have to have the information first, the data first. You have to be able to know like what the conversations are being said, what AI is talking about, what sources it cites, what competitors it mentions, and then you can have a strategy to game that system once you have all those factors.
That's so amazing. And, the whole tool, right? Huzi, Satori, now Canvas, obviously with SparkPad. I mean, it was this whole journey for you was just kind of built out of a necessity to solve a problem for your daughter at school.
Yeah.
I think you've taken that. It sounds like you're still taking that same, I got this problem or I need this, so let me develop this to help me, solve through problems, and how the whole, really your whole ecosystem that you're building has come to be.
The problem really, like, agents don't care, or nor should they care about AEO or GEO or SEO. They just want to be found. The best agent doesn't win. The most known agent wins. We know this, unfortunately. Right. People can be technically proficient and totally broke in this business. Mm-hmm. So, how do you get found? How do you get trusted? And how do you scale? Those are really the three things that you have to answer. And so the systems and the pieces of software that we're building are really like, how do you get found? how do you stay trusted in this new world? And then how do you scale? And it's kind of those three bullet points that we're trying to answer very clearly with AI augmentation. So we can take those best of the best, the people that really do understand the wisdom worker, that do want to elevate themselves, that do want to stay in the business for a while, and then make sure they're relevant as long as that they want to be.
Yeah.
That's really what I'm focused on.
Dude, I love it. And, we were chatting before we hit go, and I was just kind of sharing a story with the client yesterday, right? Just utilizing, was it tool number one, SparkPad? Being able to use SparkPad. And we were in a coaching session, and we were kind of talking through, and she's got an incredible value proposition to where her niche is investor. She doesn't help them find the property. She helps them once they get the property rehab to sell the property. So they want to sell fast and obviously for the most amount of money, but she brings a unique value proposition because she has staging. And so she incorporates that into her value proposition. And, I was like, okay, we got the box trucks. When are we getting them wrapped? Right. That was mine. And it's funny because I've been having the wrap moving van conversation quite frequently here lately. As for us, that was probably the best boots on ground marketing ploy that we ever rolled out, especially small town. It was the best thing because it's a mobile billboard. It's everywhere.
Right.
And you either let your clients use it or not. The biggest thing for us that we got the most traction was letting, charities and organizations utilize it as well. Right. So that's it was going there. It's set in front of our office. It was truly a mobile billboard. And we're having the conversation, and we're talking about what is the message, right? Ours, because we just motivated seller was always our play. So we had guaranteed sell. I mean, I got into the business guaranteed sell, and it's that or cash offer. And she's like, I don't want to go do that. I want to do that. I was like, hold on. I said, let's talk through this. Open up SparkPad, and we started going through, right? And I was like, hey, this is who she is. This is her, her specific niche. This is her value proposition. This is what she brings to the table. And then, pull out, ask me as many questions as you need, as long as you ask me one question at a time until we can get enough information to, really nail her specific, unique value proposition to her market. And it's just like going through. And we whittle it down. It's like, okay, here's a couple options. You can play this option. You can play this option. You can play this option, or you can play this option, which was the branded naming convention to her process. And literally her mouth was open. Her jaw dropped when we got to it, and ended up creating this unique branded, proprietary process that we naming convention that she does it this way. And something, Eric, that like, cause you and I've done this. I mean, how many times, right? Going through developing value proposition. What is our value proposition to the market? Things that would take days, weeks. Sometimes we would marinate it on for over an extended period of time. We did in 28 minutes.
Yeah. I love it.
Dude, it was so amazing. She was blown away. And of course, built in, I was like, do you want me to email it to you? Yes, please email that to me. And, then able to forward it right over to her. And now she's off and running. Now she's got it. And what a great tool. And even to your point, right? Like even being able to work through with your clients and their situation. What are you trying to accomplish? I don't know. Let's walk through this. Let's talk through this. And just being able to leverage AI, earlier conversations that we had this year, you don't let the AI lead, you lead with the AI empowering you, and just knowing how to navigate and ask questions. It was so amazing. But how else are you solving for those three, key bullet points? Obviously, being able to utilize, Huzi within the Spark Pad. I love the Huzi because it's especially dealing with real estate. It's built for real estate. Whereas you have the other options, man. You can drop in ChatGPT, you can drop in all the other things. And people, when I tell people about it, they're like, I can cancel my ChatGPT. I'm like, yeah, you can cancel that. and so being able to utilize it. So Halo Profound, Trust and Scale. What else are you developing to help, agents or small business to be able to navigate with these three things within the ecosystem that you guys are building?
Yeah. So Halo answers all of the questions for AEO, GEO, SEO. It's a complete ecosystem because there isn't even a content studio in it. So the content studio says, all right, this is the conversation or the prompt that I want to be maximized towards. Let's say, I'm a veteran looking to get a VA loan. Do I need like an 800 credit score or some sort of issue? Like they conflate credit score and getting a VA loan together. Let's say you want to be part of the conversation some way. It helps you identify that, helps you identify the sources, the strategy, and then it helps you write all the content necessary to actually be ranked for that conversation. So it's a complete thing. SparkPad is the purpose-built sort of ChatGPT. So the next version of SparkPad, buddy. In fact, I'll show you just really quick so you can be the first to actually see it. And the reason why I'm showing you this is because here you go, this one. So as an example, when somebody says like, hey, I just want to know like what I should use it for, how I should use it. And so we just kind of taken away and done all the heavy lifting. So if you see on the left-hand side, we have all these different personas, and then your version, John, through your program, will have all of your personas and tasks over here, Sparks. So it's just quickly loaded, and you can talk to your communication coach, and the communication coach has specific tasks that they can help you with in addition to that. And we're building these all out right now. It's just like this really easy button, how to scale best practices. And we're training all these AIs. We're building all this right now. And then inside of it, the other like kind of common thing is like just learning how to prompt, how to get best responses. So we actually built out these prompt studios, if you can see. So you just like ask like, here's what I want to do. And then it builds out a comprehensive, thoughtful response and a prompt that you just hit generate. So you're having the AI leverage the AI to have the conversation you're orchestrating, not having to think about what to say and how to say it.
Yeah.
So this version of SparkPad, I'm excited. We're building it now.
So good, man.
Okay.
And yeah, and I know you've got so much. I mean, I've seen a lot of cool stuff that you guys are talking about. Obviously, getting to see Satori or Canvas before, and as far as for me, the whiteboards and the vision planning and being able to pull things together, and like, I mean, I think one of the first projects I used it for was develop a slide deck presentation off of I'm out walking and I record 5-minute, actually turn the video on 5-minute video of me talking through kind of the problem and the point, what I'm trying to get across and be able to do, take that video, pull in the best practices, webinar creation, slide deck videos for presentations. And it just laid out the whole format, literally something that would have taken me a week of just deep work focus to knock out. I mean, knocked out in less than, a couple hours, and got it over to the team. And then the team, put their, our little touch on the slides and things the way I like them. But man, you talk about just being able to take an idea to actual creating a concept into an actual thing, that would take time to develop is done so fast.
Did you see this stat that I think it was realtor.com last month or month before said 82% of all home buyers use AI for housing market information now?
Really?
Yeah. So that's just a trend that we should just really pay attention to, because the consumer is also doing things faster. So I'm just dovetailing into conversation here. We're able to do things faster, and so is the consumer. So before, the consumer had like a question about community property state or selling their house through probate or whatever, and they would have to find a real estate agent, Google real estate agent, get a referral, or call the lender, or call the agent, or set up a meeting. And it was a day-long process, and now they get that answer instantly. So all of the benefits that the agent has, I just want to point out, the consumer has the same benefit. So I just keep pointing back, like, then what? Then what? Right. So the mindset of like being able to do things faster is amazing. As long as you have the then what answered, right? Then what else do you spend your time on? Right. Then what else do you do to instead of like, how do I get to my clients faster? How do I spend more time in delight with them is the next reframe. Right. Like, we have to reframe these ways of thinking, because the consumer is being reframed, not just with their experience with the real estate industry, by the way. Their experience of like buying things and acting as a consumer is affected by how they interact with Apple and Amazon and Costco and everybody else, right? So the real estate industry is not in a silo, right? And we have to stop thinking like that we're competing against other, real estate brokerages or brokers or agents. We're not. We're competing against the consumer's experience with their whole life.
Yeah.
And we have to meet them there in that way.
Yeah.
So that's just it's not Zillow anymore isn't our threat. It's not the AI powered competitor. That's a bullshit thing. It's not true. It's the AI powered consumer. It's not that like, EXP is looking to replace a real estate agent, or Zillow was looking to replace a real estate agent. The consumer just has alternatives that they didn't have before. That's the threat.
How do we go about that middle pillar of trust, right? In your example right there, if 82% have the same data, and we're no longer, putting a guard around the knowledge, right? So how do we not lose or break trust, or even build trust with the AI, powered consumer?
So you have to be talking about the things that they are interested in talking about. You can't be the place of search or the place of information. So it's not like the home buying process in general. It's the things upstream, those life events, those life triggers, and then the questions they have as a result of them. Just think about it that way. The life events, the life triggers, and then the questions that happen as a result of them. So you can just ask yourself, like, when I think about my business, and let's say I've sold 50 houses this last year, generally, what kind of buyers were they? What kind of sellers were they? What problems did they have in their life that caused them, to want to call me to start this conversation about home buying and selling? Yeah. And then once you kind of do that internal audit, now you've got kind of a path forward. Like, okay, well, first of all, those are the types of clients I want. I like working with those types of clients. And then second of all, once you answer that question as a yes, then those are the types of the conversations that you got to maximize all of your content towards. And the content, again, being written for the individuals, the people, and the AI both, like both strategies. Yeah, but start upstream of the house search, start upstream of the agent search. And that's the content of 2026.
Man, that's so good. I was thinking of a couple different things as you were saying that. One goes back to law number 1 of certified home selling advisor and law number 1 of certified home buying advisor, which is asking the tough questions. It's, what are y'all trying to do? What's the goal? What are we trying to accomplish here? What's causing this move? And so that really ties right into building a lot of content around those initial tough questions. But as you were also saying it, one of our clients that we've really helped dial this in at one of the best levels that I've seen to really niche, and she's continuing to fine tune it. We talked about it again last night. Renee Velasquez in Cleveland, and Renee, just through life experience of having to losing her dad, and then losing her mom, and then the siblings, the juggle of the family dynamics, and the estate, and doing all of those things as kiddos that we have to do for our aging parents. And as you were going there, she's really settled in on, she doesn't, talk about downsize or whatever. She talks about right sizing and really speaking the language. And she's like, we were having the conversation last night. She's like, I don't really know how to speak boomer, but I can speak the next generation. And yet the boomers got all the money. So she was kind of at, what content am I creating? Who am I speaking to? And kind of to think, and I'm like, well, Renee, right? That it's either the parents get out ahead of it and control things, or the kiddos get out and control things, or the thing just gets dumped on somebody's lap. And that's really the situation that, people find the estates and probate and end up into probate. And, she knows that backwards and forwards. And so that's why she's really exploiting it. So this is just, I'm using her as you're, I'm listening to you about building trust and content. I have her in my mind thinking about, just because we've done so much work, really nailing her, the ICP for her, she knows all of their pain points. So this is really good. Keeping in her mind, right, how you find and get the information and build the content to build trust, and then leveraging the AI for her to scale within that demographic that she's so focused on, to be able to run with and create that content at scale as well.
Yeah. So there's a deadly middle ground, I think, that we need to kind of avoid, or people are listening to this, I hope that they avoid. So if you have a technology that allows things to do faster, better, cheaper, right? And you have still a human need. This is a complex sales process, home buying and selling. This is not a simple, I'm not buying a pack of gum, right? This is a complex sales process. So in that case, there's two distinct paths, and I'm worried that a lot of agents are kind of stuck in the middle. The first path, let me use a hotel example because I wrote about it in my book. The first path is the incredibly efficient, effective path. So it's like, if you can imagine in the future, if you were going to go out to get a hotel for the night and you're in the La Quinta budget, let's say, you're probably going to get an AI forward, really efficient process. You're going to have an app where you check in at, you check in on the pad, when you get there, the door locks automatically, things are automated completely, even to the point of the relationship is automated. The relationship is optimized, right? Or if you go, say, at the Four Seasons, you're going to still get the very warm, human friendly, even though AI is in the background, helping with reservations, running credit card processes, and finding, how to market and all that stuff. It's in the background. There's still a people forward process and a very bespoke process. So the middle ground is like trying to do efficient and bespoke. I think that's going to be the hard, bloody red ocean strategy. I think the blue ocean is either be wildly freaking efficient, like completely like transparent, efficient, consistent, or you still need to do that and be memorable. But you can't just kind of do a little bit of like customization and then kind of efficiency. I think you got to really pick. Am I going to be the type of like agent that like everybody can't not talk about me because of the memorable experiences that I created on purpose? I did unreasonable hospitality. I really approached it through that lens of unreasonable hospitality or unreasonable, efficiency. One or the other, but I think being in the middle is going to be kind of the death zone. That's going to be kind of a forgettable thing.
My play in the real estate industry, and that's why I push Leanne on all the time, right? Is like you got to go top shelf. You got to go Ritz-Carlton. Like I don't see playing, especially in real estate. I don't see you playing in down less or affordable housing. Like, I mean, what is affordable housing? But I don't know if I want to play that game. And I'm like, if you've got a look, a feel, a brand, like I think the game to play, because you can get to the premiums, is playing the Ritz-Carlton, in all capital letters, unreasonable hospitality.
All capital letters. Yeah.
Bro, I'm so glad you said that. That's such a massive distinction that I think a lot of folks need to start making, what game do you want to play?
One or the other, for sure. And either one are valuable and we'll have a future. I'm just concerned that the middle is the thing that's most
Yeah.
Like it'll be dislodged.
And, just traveling a lot. I mean, running through these airports, I mean, you see more and more of the self go in, get your own stuff and self checkout,
Mm.
right? Like,
Go to the grocery store. You can do
yes,
anything, or even Home Depot. Yeah, the world is turning us into our own employee.
yeah. And you know what's crazy too? I don't remember where I saw it, but they had VAs on the screen,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So, that's even,
Mhm.
keeping it super low with the VA, wage. Um, and then everything else is like, of course, cameras everywhere. I mean, it's just, that's such a massive distinction. So for me, my 2 cents talking to real estate professionals, and this is the people that I have the opportunity to coach. And I think a lot of people that are in coaching, especially working with me, they want that top shelf. They want that all capital letter unreasonable hospitality experience that they want to, the game and where they want to navigate. Brother, this is like, I mean, it's so good, so good. This conversation, and I love the focus on the wisdom worker. We're no longer the knowledge worker, and really focusing in on that high end. Focus on the experience and how can you craft magical, memorable moments, even in a real estate transaction. How can you do those things in that customer, the journey, the path that you take them from the first conversation till they're sending you tons and tons of referrals because of the experience that you provided for them and helping them accomplish that. One thing I do, Eric, before we wrap up, obviously go get the book. So that's at ericpost.ai. Can go get the manifesto there.
Yeah, for sure. And even in the back, so there's even like, buddy, I wrote poetry in there. There's some short stories, parables. It's not just a boring, kind of a preach at you business book. And in the back also, I gave examples of prompts that you can use in any AI, Huzi or anything to help transition your thought process from the knowledge sort of like prompts and interactions to the wisdom sort of prompts and interactions. So there's examples in there, things you can copy and paste and everything.
Yeah. And guys listening, it's Huzi.ai, but I would tell you to go to coachkitchens.ai.
Yep.
As we've worked with Eric's team over the years and developed some custom sparks based upon the things that we feel are really important to be able to install immediately into your business. And man, I even personally went through creating the ICP avatar for who we want to work with, who we want to recruit. And I'm like, okay, I'm sitting in, the Admirals Club in DFW waiting to catch a flight. And I start working on it. Bro, it's so good.
Good.
It's so good going through. And I had to like think about it. And then I was just asking questions and then navigating over here. And I'm like, I got to go catch my flight. And then end up getting, Wi-Fi on the flight, still working on it. And it really helps you, get crystal clear, like you said, especially, who you want to serve, the problems they have, the problems you want to help solve, and then can get into the 3 pillars that you talked about, making sure that we're creating the right content, the right way. I can't wait to get a hold of Halo, to be found, doing the things to consistently and always build trust, and then leveraging, the ecosystem to scale, your efforts and what it is that we're wanting to accomplish. But before I let you go, I mean, Joel and I talk about this all the time, right? Like there's certain people within this space that you need to be in tune with. Obviously with us at EXP, obviously being in tune with Glenn, that's all Glenn thinks about. That's all he does. That's all he's consuming, that he's built his feed just to feed off of AI. I say 100% pay attention to what you're doing. And I told you this, a few times. I'm always betting on the jockey, right? Like been to the Kentucky Derby a couple of times, love going to the horse races, just fun, but I'm looking for the jockey, right? I want to play the jockey. And within the real estate space, there's been a couple that have really moved the needle. And I always tell people if they're, whatever they're doing, go do it. Howard Tager was one of the ones. The first ones with Tiger Leads, sold, non-compete, gets back in, has YLOPO. I'm like, go check out what Howard's doing. The other is Dwayne Legate. Nobody I've ever seen do what Dwayne was able to do with Commissions Inc. Sold for an absurd amount of money. God bless him. He worked for it. He like nobody listened and iterate faster than Dwayne. And you're one of those guys. You know, the second I saw it in Cleveland a couple of years ago, I knew the first hire, right? And that's just kind of where I'm always looking is what's the first hire? And 20 global pandemic unlocked the, you know, the global workforce, the talent all over this planet. And so it was like, go get a VA. First hire is go get Huzi. And I saw that, and what you've been able to do in such a short period of time, you listen and you iterate and you solve problems, and the way you really think about it. And so I know new podcast for you kicked off. So how can people get plugged in and stay consistent with you and stay in tune to the podcast?
Yeah, we really wanted to thank you, John, for that. That was really kind of you to say so. I'm honored to be part of your group and talking to me about these things. These are conversations I think about 24/7. That's not exaggeration. I dream about it, you know, because it's so important we get it right. And I feel honored to actually, you know, have fingerprints that we can put on an industry in this way. This is a big transition time and a thoughtful experience when the algorithm is demanding speed and everybody's demanding efficiency. For somebody to step back and be like, actually, let's pause. Let's have a conversation about the consumer. Let's have how are we going to stay relevant, and what does that mean to stay relevant, right? So just creating that stillness that other people can pause for a minute and go, oh yeah, let's clear our minds for a minute. Let actually some divine intervention to like give us some clarity. You said clarity earlier. I don't know how you can operate in this noisy world unless you give yourself those moments of pause to think clearly through things. So yeah, I'm glad you said that, buddy. Thank you. Our podcast is Hey Huzi. And Hey Huzi is meant to be conversations. We talk about AI in healthcare, education, ethics, security, real estate, personal development. It's just the kind of intersection of society, personal development, and technology right there. So it's been really fun to have that conversation.
I love it, brother. I appreciate you.
Thank
I
you,
know we'll do this again and again and again, especially with the speed at which things are moving and accelerating, and you know, taking that time to, like we said, pause for a second, right? Sometimes, you know, got to slow down to go fast, and making sure that, you know, we're thinking about things the right way, and you know, understanding that we're the architect of our world and we get to design it the way that we want, but also have people like you in our corner to make sure that we're doing the right things in the right order. So brother, I appreciate you.
Thanks, buddy. Cheers,
awesome.
you guys.
We'll see you again. Thanks, guys. See you.